It's April. In fact, it's Easter Monday, and we're in beautiful St. Petersburg Beach, Florida, with Doug Joy, our host here. But we've also been to Lakeland. But Lakeland, Florida, is a place that most Michiganders know as the spring training home of the Detroit Tigers baseball team. And it's also the home of the Flying Tigers minor league team. But Doug here is going to tell us some stories about flying, because Lakeland, Florida, actually Joker Marchant Stadium is built on one of the most hallowed places to flyers in Florida. And Doug will let you talk a little bit about a guy named Herschel McCafferty, who happens to be one of the flight instructors during World War II at the field, Lodwick Field, which is where Joker Marchant Stadium is now. So tell us a little bit about your flying with Herschel McCafferty.
Well, I remember Herschel as my first primary flight instructor, and this was long after the war. It was in 1963, I believe it was, and I found him to be just an extraordinary fellow to be with in the cockpit. He sat in the back seat of this little Tri-Champ that we flew. It had about an 85 horsepower engine, and he was very direct in telling you what he wanted you to do. He was very kind, was very gentlemanly about it, and it was a pleasure to fly with him. And I flew up until the point where I was 20 minutes away from soloing, and I never went beyond that with him. But some of my experiences they still live with me today, because it was such a memorable experience. And I recall one time in our primary flight training, he was trying to impress upon me the importance of keeping a vigil out for some place to put this airplane down just in case the engine quit. And so this one day he said to me, "Now, Doug, what do you think we'd do here now if the engine quit? What would happen?" I said, "Well, we'd have to put her down." He said, "Well, do you see any place out there that would be likely place to put it down?" I said, "Well, there's one over there." He says, "Well, let's give it a try, see what you can do."
Were you flying in Michigan then?
Yeah, we were out over a town roughly called Brighton is where we were. And he pulled back on the throttle, and I basically had a dead engine, and had to navigate that thing around myself. And luckily, there was a very nice spot out there to land, but it came to me later on that, of course, he had set that up in the first place. He already knew that that was going to be a good place for me to try, And one time I walked into the Pontiac airport, and Herschel was there at his little desk where he had a flight service, and it was a foul day out. It was kind of half foggy and half rainy and very low ceiling. He looked at me, he says, "This would be a good day for us to go get some actual." And what he meant was actual IFR time. I said, "Herschel," I said, I can barely land this thing, do I do I need to do IFR flying?" "Oh, yeah." He says, let's go. So
What's IFR flying?
IFR is instrument flight regulations only. You're in the clouds, you can't see anything, and I didn't think I was ready for it, but he did. And up we went up into the clouds probably about 100 feet, and it was the most bizarre experience that I've ever had in my life. I was a little bit afraid because I didn't know if I was going up or down or sideways, but Herschel had a grip on the whole thing, there was no problem. I could just tell that the way he worked with me was probably the same way he worked with the cadets down there at Lakeland. They were all young fellas like myself, about 21 years old, and he was kind of patronly about it, and authoritative and direct, but very kind. And I just look back very favorably upon Herschel.
Well, it was so cool. They had a race the day after spring training, which was called the Tiger Trot 5K.
Get set, go!
Bobby Krim, Art McCafferty. Bobby, honey, how you doing? I
got a pulled muscle.
Pulled muscle, bummer.
On your mark. Get set, go!
I'm the one in the room. up those eggs. You wake up on Easter morning. 2, 3, go! Be careful out there. We got a lot of eggs out there.
One show or two shows?
A lot of eggs over here in right field. The Easter Bunny was busy. Easter morning, you know that he was.
And that race actually took off on the runway that the cadets used.
Do they keep any airplanes in there still today, I wonder? Or?
Well, the hangar we saw was used as kind of a place where all players and at the time it was the cadets came to eat. It was a mess hall. And they had photos of the World War II days actually there that we were able to see the different fields, that there's actually 5 or 6 fields where they practice. So it's definitely a part of the history that the director of Florida Operations, Ron Myers, was talking about.
And I am standing on the original one-way of Lodwick Field, which was also the first military cadet school to open and the last to close for World War II, and it's a very historic place.
I certainly can relate to his style of teaching and his compassion and warmth in the cockpit, and I know that that he made a lot of safe pilots in World War II.
What a legacy. It sure is. So, Doug, thank you for sharing your experience with us. It's chilling to think about pulling back on the throttle and having to think about landing.
Yeah, really. Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure.